This is a story of Sleeping Beauty, a European fairy tale collected by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, in a kingdom by the sea, there lived a king and a queen who should have been very happy. They had golden plates, jewels, and furs to wear, and ice cream and cream puffs to eat, but they were not happy because they had no child of their own. "How long must I dream of a baby?" the queen would weep. "How long must we wait for a child?" the king would sigh. One day, their dreams came true, and a baby girl was born to them. The king and queen were overjoyed. "We must share our joy," cried the happy king. "We shall have a christening party, and the whole kingdom shall be invited." The palace was in an uproar. The royal butlers polished the gold plates and goblets. The royal chefs roasted fat chickens and ducks on spits. The royal pastry cooks frosted cakes and sugar plums. The royal printers engraved special invitations. "Have you invited the fairies?" the queen reminded the king. "Of course," the king answered. "They will be our daughters' godmothers." The sun shone brightly the day of the christening party. Everyone in the kingdom came, and each one brought a special gift for the baby princess. But the fairies' gifts were the most wonderful of all. "I give you the gift of beauty," said the first fairy to the baby princess. "I give you happiness," said the second. "I bring you love," said the third. "And I, laughter," said the fourth. "Mine is the gift of kindness," said the fifth. "And mine, grace," said the sixth. "Our child will surely be the most wonderful princess in the entire world," sighed the happy queen as the seventh fairy came forward with her gift. But before the seventh fairy could speak, a cloud passed over the sun and a cold wind blew through the window. The doors of the banquet hall were flung open, and in stormed an old witch, dressed in black, with fury on her wrinkled face. Instantly, the gay sounds of the banquet were hushed. No one dared move. "You have insulted me," screamed the angry witch. "Why was I not invited here? You forgot me, but I have not forgotten your child. My gift to her is the gift of death." A gasp of horror was heard all throughout the banquet hall. "When she is 16, the angry witch announced, "the princess will prick her finger on a spindle and she will die." With these terrible words, the witch vanished. The guests were horrified. No one knew what to do. But then the seventh fairy came forward. She gently said to the king and queen, "I give my gift now. Your child will not die. If she should prick her finger, she will sleep for 100 years and then be awakened by a handsome prince." The king and queen were comforted. But just to be safe, the king issued a proclamation. Hear ye," shouted the royal heralds. "From this day forward, all spinning wheels shall be forbidden in this kingdom." The years passed happily, and the princess grew more beautiful and more loved every day. One day, the royal family set out to visit their castle in the country. The princess wandered off in the woods, which she loved, and suddenly came upon a deserted mill. Inside, a little old lady sat at her spinning wheel. She was so old and alone that she had never heard the king's proclamation. "Come in, my child," said the old woman. "It's a long time since I've had a visitor." "Then what do you do here all by yourself?" asked the princess. "I spin," answered the old woman. "Oh, let me try," cried the princess, fascinated by the spinning wheel since she had never seen one in her life. The old woman held out the spindle. But as the princess took it in her hand, she pricked her finger and fell to the ground unconscious. The poor old woman cried out, and some passing woodmen carried the sleeping princess back to her grieving parents. "Quickly," cried the king to the palace jester, who could run like the wind in his 7-league boots, "find the seventh fairy. Tell her we need her." The dwarf ran like the wind, and in no time the littlest fairy arrived in her magic chariot drawn by fiery dragons. "She will be so lonely," sobbed the queen. "When she wakes up in 100 years, all of us who love her will be gone." "I have thought of that," said the seventh fairy, and she waved her wand. Instantly, everyone in the castle was fast asleep. Wherever they were, whatever they were doing, they fell asleep. The queen fell asleep drying her eyes. The king fell asleep while scolding the jester. The knights fell asleep polishing their armor. Every living thing was fast asleep. Then the seventh fairy waved her wand once more, and a thick forest of brambles sprang up around the castle walls. 100 years passed, and no one dared go near the mysterious castle. One day, a handsome prince came riding by, far from his own kingdom. He, like many others, was curious about the castle. He heard many stories, but the words of an old woodcutter excited him the most. Some say that inside the castle lies a princess more beautiful than a summer's day, said the woodcutter. If she is so beautiful, I must see her for myself, answered the prince, and off he rode to the castle. The brambles seemed impossible to cut, but strangely, the minute the young prince began to slash at them, they fell away beneath his sword. In no time, he found himself standing in the courtyard. The prince gazed in amazement at the sleeping figures he passed as he went into the castle. He walked from room to room, past sleeping knights and ladies and servants. Then suddenly he stood in a room more richly furnished than all the others. There on a bed of silk and satin lay the young princess fast asleep. The woodcutter was right, gasped the prince. She is more beautiful than a summer's day. At last I have found the princess of my dreams. He knelt by her bed and kissed her tenderly. To his joy, the princess opened her eyes and smiled up at him sweetly. "Why have you taken so long to come?" she whispered happily. "I have been dreaming of you for 100 years. As she spoke, the entire castle came to life. The queen finished drying her eyes, the king went on scolding the jester, the knights went on polishing their armor. Dogs barked, cats meowed, birds sang, and the castle rang with happy sounds. But the beautiful princess and the handsome prince heard only each other's voices. Within a few days, a magnificent wedding was prepared, and afterward the prince carried his bride back to his own kingdom over the mountains. There they lived, happily forever after. The end.